Hey guys, thanks for tuning in again. Just want to give you guys a quick update on the crisis in Kashmir and some other news. So, if you recall, India dissolved Article 370, which placed Jammu, Kashmir, and the Ladakh formally under their federal purview. So, this is kind of a big deal because many Kashmiris and Pakistanis see this as a breach of the agreement that was laid out in 1947. So, it granted uh, Indian administered area a certain level of autonomy and protected against more Hindus from moving into the area. So, India, though, they claim it will help the region grow economically and attract more investments, which will be true if they can avert military conflict or just violence in general. I believe that Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, also made an error this week. He basically described Modi and the Indian government basically akin to Nazi Germany and that of Hitler, annexing territory like Czechoslovakia or Austria, and even went so far as warning about future genocide, which I really don't see happening. I think it's kind of a knee-jerk reaction for him. I tweeted at CNN about this. Actually, it's basically right out of the American leftist playbook. Three regions that India quote unquote annex. They've been around or under Indian governance since the partition in 1947. So really, this type of rhetoric makes it easier for Americans like myself to support India even further. It shows that Khan is basically desperate and doesn't really have many plays left up his sleeve. It's the same kind of attacks, like I said, that the American left regularly uses against Trump. So overall, though, India, more closely resembles that of what we want as a country moving forward in the 21st century, as opposed to Pakistan, I would say, or Pakistan. India will help us combat against Islamic terror, while on the other hand, Pakistan is aiding and abetting terrorists, it seems. I mean, Turkmenistani officials actually have warned us that the Pakis are doing exactly that. And they regularly tip off Taliban targets and other terror networks while also supplying them and providing them resources and land to actually train. So having like camps to actually set up. So Pakistan just needs to get it together and get it together fast. But on the other hand, I believe that the following is essentially their overall strategy when it comes to the United States. It's basically feign disbelief with terrorism, use the American situation in Afghanistan to their advantage. So basically, as a result, they then receive billions of dollars of foreign aid, but at the same time, they protract the war by tipping off terrorists and therefore keep receiving benefits. So it's a win-win for them in reality. And most of the money in the end just goes to their military budget, which is preparing itself for a war against India. So there's actually been studies performed that say over 70% of the aid sent to Pakistan is actually misused. So, I really don't see why we keep giving them money, but Obama actually increased aid to Pakistan, and Trump temporarily suspended it, but he resumed aid once Khan visited the White House last month. So I hope he continues to make it difficult for them and make them kind of just realize that we're not their piggy bank and we can't be taken advantage of. So yesterday was actually Pakistan's Independence Day, and today is actually India's. So what, August 14th and then August 15th. So 15th being India. So India, on the other hand, after all this Kashmir business and quote unquote crisis, they're just moving along business as usual, which kind of gives them more pathos or I would say credibility. The KSA, or the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, announced this week that Saudi Aramco is actually buying 20% of Reliance Global, which is a company based out of Mumbai. It's one of the largest energy companies in the world. Some of you may have heard of it, probably not. It's ranked as the 158th largest company globally, according to Forbes. So, very large company, but this is good news for both countries. Basically, comes as with the assurance to buy half a million barrels a day of the kingdom's crude oil on a long term basis. So that's around 25 million tons a year, a lot. So it will allow Saudi Arabia to basically reclaim the top position as the supplier to India. So before it was Iraq, now it's going to be Saudi Arabia. So this is key since India is a net importer of oil. Around 85% of their oil is foreign based. So this basically helps with what I was talking about before in a previous video, just their overall strategy to grow their middle class since they need to seek oil also from sources other than Iran. Because I also mentioned before, India is basically staying true to their word that they will cease buying Iranian oil and in addition Venezuelan oil. For sure, Iranian oil they ceased all purchasing in May, so that's great news. Really pleased to see that they're walking the walk on this, unlike China, though. So they're another story. But the U.S., on the other hand, we're the ninth largest importer to India, which I hope to see improve over the next coming months or years. So, in short, though, this $15 billion investment is basically just a vote of confidence by the Saudis in India's economy and Prime Minister Modi just in general. So, like I said, I just hope more oil comes from the U.S. and trade with the U.S. Just period. It just needs to improve. So right now, India has a lot of high tariffs placed on American goods, even before Trump was here. In India's case, so the U.S. has imposed tariffs on steel imports, and India. Actually, before I say that, the U.S. ended preferential access for Indian products. So in retaliation, though, India imposed retaliatory tariffs on 28 products exported from the U.S. in June. So the good news, though, however, is that the Indian Trade Minister is set to visit Washington next month. So I'm really curious to see what happens and to see if the two sides can work out a deal to narrow the U.S. trade deficit with India. Right now, bilateral trade in 2018 it was estimated at 142.1 billion. So that's a lot. Hopefully, we can see something get worked out so both sides are happy. Anyway, but I know I could get sometimes in the sticks, but let's just get back to Kashmir. So I just the way I feel that the more Pakistan talks, the easier it makes it to support Modi and the Indian government. Modi actually gave a speech today for their Independence Day, and he made some key announcements. Basically, he reiterated that Kashmir was one of the key decisions taken within 70 days of assuming office. So he announced it on the campaign trail. We kind of expected it, like I said. He basically wants one nation, one constitution. He wants to unify India into one seamless country and improve the ease of doing business so that he can make it basically possible for his country to surpass $5 trillion as an economy as a whole. So, India is rapidly growing. He just sees this as a move to, further that growth. There were also a few incidents last week as well. There was actually a shooting on the line of control. So basically the border of where Pakistan controls part of Kashmir and where India controls part of Kashmir. So basically Pakistan claims that India shot first. India claims the other. So basically there's conflicting stories, but what we do know is that there's dead soldiers on both sides, but India is saying that none of their soldiers died, but I assume that some did. Khan also admitted that there was a February bombing mission in Balakak, which is by Abbottabad. So if you recall, Abbottabad is where Osama bin Laden was hiding for many years. So this is kind of that area, like it's a really high number of terror elements in this region. It's just north of Islamabad too, so it's basically northeast Pakistan, okay? So it's in the hills, in the mountains, really easy to hide things there. So anyway, India bombed a terror camp. It's JEM. They bombed them, they destroyed the camp, killed a lot of them, and Pakistan just totally denied that this happened, but last week they finally admitted that it did happen, and Khan is basically walking back on his lie. So and then he also said too that no one died and the bombs landed in a field, which I kind of definitely don't believe, considering that he was lying before, right? So I'm definitely going to take the sides of the Indians on this one. But overall, the way that this is moving along, I'm more supporting India through and through. I would say even 100%. So I really want to see Trump improve his relationship with India. That's why I'm really curious to see what happens with when the trade minister comes. I want us to sell more oil to them. I want us to sell more natural gas to them. I want obviously there to be peace in the Kashmir province, but we'll see what will happen in the coming weeks. Hopefully, the citizens there can kind of resume their normal life because right now they still don't have internet access. So there's a lot of problems with, for example, I was reading like one mom has a kid in Russia studying, and she can't send him money because they can't do anything through the internet with sending money. So hopefully things get resolved. I want just the population just to basically resume their normal day of life. So we'll see what happens again in the coming weeks. I'll be sure to update you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.